Hi, welcome back to Bazaar Morning Call. Let's head straight away to the Motilal Oswal Global Investor Conference, which is underway in Mumbai. And joining in now is the head of institutional sales, Sushmit Patodia. Hi, Sushmit. Good morning to you. When we spoke with you last year from the same conference, you had spoken to us about how the investor mood was very upbeat on India. Growth was looking good. How are things now? Have things changed in the last 1 year? What are people telling you about the India story? Growth is looking a little bit muted. It looks like perhaps the consensus EPS estimates may be scaled down. What's the word on the ground?
Hi, good morning. So the mood is extremely upbeat about the macro in India. The last 12 months has seen reforms that if you'd asked me 12 months ago if all this could happen in the next 12 months, it would have been an emphatic no, but it did happen. So I think the mood on what the government has done over the last 12 months has been phenomenal. With respect to the earnings, that is where the divergence comes in. A lot of the corporate profitability has gone into the government's hands, whether it be through increased taxes, whether it be through demonetization, while earnings have taken a hit. So we continue to believe that H2 FY18 is when the earnings will start kicking in, and that is really the hope as well with all the investors at our conference.
Okay. Sushmit, good morning. It's interesting to say that because for last 6 months, and you have both, on institutional side, both DIIs and FIIs as your large clients, we have seen a clear dichotomy. The FII selling has been relentless, while the DIIs are buying this market for last 1 year. And the FII selling in India in particular looks extremely large. What's impacting that number if the mood is bullish?
So, it's always a case of, finding the right water level. So, a lot of the FIIs pumped in very early money as soon as Mr. Modi came in, and they're sitting on handsome gains. And, taking some money off the table at 20 times 1 year forward earnings at the index level is not a bad thing. And let's not forget that the FIIs have options around the world. So it's not necessary that they're tied to India or they can only invest in India. While on the other hand, as you rightly said, the domestic inflow has almost been a deluge, and they really have no option but to buy the market.
Sushmit, good morning. What are the stories investors are most convinced and comfortable with? Because right now it appears the market is divided into good businesses with high growth visibility but very expensive. But on the other hand, you've got value stocks where the valuations are reasonable but there is no growth, or growth is much lower than what people would like. And the two groups appear to be mutually exclusive. So what's the word on the ground with respect to the investors' comfort level in picking up sectors?
Yeah, so this is the debate that probably every investor has had with us in the last 2 days. Is at the end of the day, there seems to be only 50 stocks in India worthwhile to invest in. So if everybody is going to buy 20 of these 50 stocks, then at some point in time they're going to get overvalued, and you may not make any IRR over the next 2-3 years. And that's exactly what is happening. The growth is so polarized right now. For example, even if you look at within the sector, private financials versus public financials, even in autos, you look at four-wheelers versus two-wheelers. So that's really the biggest challenge for fund managers right now, is how do we go beyond the top 60 stocks that everybody seems to like.
Sushmit, also overall on the market itself, what is the sense you're getting about what could perhaps be the biggest risk from here on? Geopolitical concerns continue to weigh. There's the debt and budget negotiations over in the US. We have an ECB meet, etc. So from the global space or perhaps even domestic, what do you see as the biggest risk in the near term?
I think all the risks that you mentioned are big enough. I think, North Korea, testing missiles is not a good thing, especially when you have an unstable government. One thing that I would like to point out here, which a lot of people may not know, is North Korea's second largest trading partner is India, right? So we have North Korea's 5% trade is with India. So I think the geopolitical risk from North Korea is just not moving to safe haven, but also from an economic perspective for India. North Korea is one of the largest consumers of our petroleum products, finished petroleum products. So I think, that is a huge risk, both from an economic standpoint and from just, risk assets losing sheen. And, secondly, in US, we've had these budget discussions probably every second year, and they somehow pull through every second year. So I'm not so sure about the US budget discussion, but yeah, the geopolitical, I think, is a big one.
Okay, geopoliticals are the big ones. Susmit, from your side, what are the key themes that you will be backing from here on? Are these the same tried and tested, the ones that have worked for you, or are you looking at some fresh ideas?
Majority of the themes are the same as they always, as we say here at Motilal, that whenever we get asked which is the next HDFC Bank, we say it is HDFC Bank, right? So I think the themes are pretty much the same. Private sector financials taking significant market share away from the public sector financials. In autos, Maruti having a runway like almost never before in terms of competition. In fact, the dominance of Maruti now is almost comparable to ITC in the cigarette industry. So I think, that is the other big theme that we like. Consumer space is one where we have to be extremely selective, because the growth in certain categories has dissipated away thanks to entry of players like Patanjali, and now we have Sri Ravi Shankar's products also going to go retail. So I think the whole Ayurveda / herbal angle is going to see more and more competition. So I think while the urban end of consumer spend is still looking good.
Okay, Sushmit, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining in with your thoughts and perspective. We'll get chatting once the conference is done to get in more color. Let's also invite Mr. S.P. Tulsian of sptulsian.com.